It's time for a new classic business sedan in the combustion engine segment. This is here the all-new Audi A6 sedan, or saloon, or limousine as we say in German. And it's Thomas Landegefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the all-new Audi A6. How good is it? What does it deliver here in this new generation? And also how different is it to the Audi A5, which is now just a little bit shorter. Soon more to that. Here in the front we can see this is, so to speak, the base model, and no, it's not an RS6, but the grille has an RS6 look, you know, like with this really wide honeycomb structure here. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And it's also all painted, so you don't have any plain black plastic elements here on the exterior. So that was also something they want to achieve with, you know, positioning the vehicle, you know, in a higher segment. Here the Audi rings, they are rather flat, but very, very visible. Here also the bright styling. You can also get a black package where you have the darkened out rings, but I think in this way it's better. There you still see it's an Audi, you know what I mean? Light, base LED, and then here matrix LED. Then you also have a cascading turning indicator in the front. You can also change these light signatures, and look at that here, these really tiny honeycomb structures here on the inside. That's also very interesting. They worked on the aerodynamics of that vehicle. Here there's an air curtain, channels the air through. And this here is the most aerodynamic sedan ever at Audi. 0.23 is the CD value, and this will also save fuel, for example. This is here called firmament blue, so a very dark nuance of a blue color. Sometimes you hardly see it's blue. When it would be now in like daytime light, then you would better see it's a blue color. That's why I also try to wear dark blue here today. Wheels from 18 to 21 inch. These here are the 20-inch wheels, so somewhat still in the middle. I think fit the car very well here in this multi-spoke design. And they also cleaned up the exterior a little bit here. You can see it at the side. Very interesting that, yeah, the door almost looks a little bit E-Class-like, doesn't it? Because Audi used to be more like, you know, like really sharp edges and so on, but here they smoothened out the lines, especially at the side. Then again, they stretched it a little bit here visually. You can see it on the top part. The length is at around 5 meters or 197 inches. So it hasn't changed much if you compare the previous generation. So yeah, I mean, usually cars grow and grow and grow. But the thing is that the size difference to the A5 saloon is not that large anymore. Yeah, that's something you gotta swallow. Of course, this one here features more stuff. For example, you can get 3 different suspension: base suspension, sport suspension, fixed one, 20 millimeters lower, and then an optional air suspension. That's something that the A5, for example, does not have. So this one features air suspension, optional. And also you can get here a rear axle steering. In this case, then the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels, up to a speed of 60 kilometers an hour or 37 miles per hour, and up to 5 degrees. This reduces then the turning circle by a meter. And that's of course very helpful when you go in and out, basement, garage and so on. Both air suspension and rear axle steering is only available if you have a quattro model, so only with the all-wheel drive model. So it will not be then available for the base version. And the new rear, they actually took note from past models, and it basically serves 2 functions. So first of all, they want to have this element upright, that the Audi rings a little bit look to the sky. But then again, if you look at that here from the side, this one raises again, and this is a crucial element for the aerodynamics, that the air is being channeled here. Yeah, and this is what makes it so aerodynamic. However, you gotta say, with this round form here, I think it looks a little bit less Bauhaus. So I think the A6 previous generation looked more German Bauhaus design. Yeah, but would like to hear your opinion on that one. More modern, definitely here the tail lamp signature. So they split it. There's this light strip that goes through. This is where also the turning indicators are integrated. And also, once again, if you have the matrix LED with the cascading function. And then here, another light set in the top part split. And here you can see these are the proximity sensors. So, and they're not. You know, either you have this sparkling design when stationary, and then when the sensors are being activated, you know, that maybe you can. Yeah, sometimes maybe Leah go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, yeah. So this is the proximity sensor saying like, go away now, finally. And these are here the OLEDs, and this is then together in the Tech Package Pro with the Matrix LED. Yeah, that's another problem, of course, that you have, once again, like a lot of options and not everything is standard. Yeah, that's usually a thing with the German premium manufacturers. And when I hit the brakes, you can see this is the brake light and this is vertical. Very interesting. So that is also a design change. And I also want to tell you more about the turning indicators, because not only this cascading thing I already mentioned, here you also have this communication with the outside world, showing these tiny triangles here. It's pretty cool when you look at it from here, but then when you come closer here and look at it a little bit from the upper part, they also mirror themselves here, you see, in the lower part. So playing with light is all over the place, but I think that's pretty cool. Why not? Then in the lower part, this is interesting, honest design now, because no more fake exhaust. The Autogefühl fake exhaust police is out of business at Audi. This is a real exhaust tip here, like it dissolves into the outside line. And once again, there's no black plastic here. Everything is also painted. And this is something where I can see, hey, this also does resemble a premium quality on the exterior already. Let's talk about the engines. One more important thing, by the way, before I open the hood, is they claim they have reduced the overall noise while driving the vehicle by 30% with additional dampening measures and so on, even foam inside of the wheels. So yeah, looking forward to drive this one and then comment if it's really so silent while driving. As for the engines, under the hood you would start with 2-liter 4-cylinder engines, both TFSI and TDI, so turbo petrol and turbo diesel, 204 horsepower. The small petrol engine is only available front-wheel drive, the diesel front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And the diesel also gets the MHEV Plus system in Europe. That's an extended mild hybrid system, 48-volt board net, also with some 25 kilowatt recuperation possibility for more fuel savings. And then here, the 3-liter 6-cylinder, 3-liter V6, 367 horsepower. And yeah, this is so far then the strongest one. Of course, later we also expect S6 and RS6 models and so on. I guess this one will also be the base for the S6, but this is here the V6 for the base model, for the base A6. You can also check out more of the engine facts in the video description, and we also have a pinned comment with that. This one comes standard with the Quattro all-wheel drive, and for this one you can also get the sports differential, the Quattro sports differential for the rear. And this is then also with a torque split to get out of the corners in an even better way. The Quattro system is now a so-called Quattro Ultra. That means it's not a rear biased Quattro anymore, and it can still send a lot of torque to the rear axle in really extreme situations, up to 70% to the rear axle. So, but that means when it's just like running normally and normal speed without pushing the throttle too much, it will be more front wheel biased. But if you really hammer it and put it to the corners, you can still feel somewhat a rear wheel bias. We have tested that with the Audi A5 in the new generation, and it worked actually quite well, but it's definitely not the standard Quattro anymore. Now to the interior with the car key. It's actually quite nice and light. And here the door handles, they are electric, but you grab in there and then you have no haptical feedback actually. And then they jump open a little bit. This one is also equipped with another option that you can't get on an A5 here, soft close. There we go.
Here, Audi A6.
And this, the model naming is now, since I think a couple of new models have it now that the model name is right here. We can of course still test the door closing sound even though it has soft close, because that sounds really nice. So great door closing sound. There we go. Slamming it, baby. But here also in the rear, you also have the soft close, if you went for that option, of course. Always nice and impressive, but also, very expensive as well. This one here, of course, with frames around the doors. You remember that the A7, of course, is a frameless design, but so far not planned yet. More to that later. Just a strange thing that they initially wanted to call this one here A7, but then they said, no, it's an A6, and they went back and forth with the naming structure. So here inside of the doors, Here has a leather wrap here. It could be maybe a little bit softer, and then here is a little bit soft, but is that soft enough for your elbows? Got to see about that while driving. This new interesting 3D structure element, Bentley has introduced it with the Bentley Continental. It's all, of course, the same corporation. Inside of doors, no fabric covering whatsoever, and you have this large black element here to control the side mirrors and so on for memory seating. And it's just one button. That whole thing is one button. You can see this projection, the puddle light at the lower part. This is also no S-line, so this is, so to speak, the base interior with a Tech Pro package. Soon more to that. Means this is like this open spoke design for the steering wheel. Reminds us a little bit of the previous generation, just that the difference is that here now we have two-dimensional Audi rings, so you cannot, well, this one you can feel, but not really the inside of the Audi rings. And the vehicle is complaining that the key is not in the vehicle. Okay. And then here you have the capacitive controls, because once again, this is one button. At least there is a nice clicking feedback, but real buttons is what I prefer, honestly. But the real stalks and so on, ambient lighting already we can see here. Somewhat covered here of the top dashboard with the stitching. Seats, you have normal seats, sport seats, what you also see here with some, sportier situations here, and Sports Plus would also be available. Then it's different with the head restraint and so on. Materials, you get fabric seats, at least in Europe, and also Dynamica microfiber. This here is a mix of animal skin and leatherette. They do not offer a full leatherette option like basically everyone else is offering at the moment, because Audi did not get this subject so much like the other manufacturers. And they say, okay, if you don't want animal skin, then we only offer fabric. I think the best solution is go for a high-grade leatherette, make it perforated, offer seat ventilation, like Tesla does, for example, and like BMW does, and so on. Like most manufacturers have decided to go this path now. Audi not so far, sadly. Then here, 189, 6'2", still a lot of headroom here. This is a fixed panoramic roof. This does have a control which is electrochrome.
Oh, I want to show the...
Oh, you want to show that? Sorry about it. I stole Leah her feature. But I think the viewers want to see you. Yeah, they want to see you. You can show it again. So here, this is like open now, and it's like an electric curtain, so to speak. And then you can also close it if you want to shade it out even more so. But it's not a roof you can actually really open. The seating comfort and the ergonomics is actually, let's say, decent. The Einsitzhöhe, the seating depth at the ischial tuberosity here, the sit bone, could be better. And the thing is that the seats are similar than the one we see in the A5. And when we recently tested the A5 long term, this area here, the sit bone area, could be a little more cushioned. So that's better, for example, especially in the BMW 5 Series. Now welcome to this cockpit. First of all here, what I also want to mention here with the seat, that's good that you can also make this front part here a little bit longer. And then this cockpit here is a screen show, so to speak. And you have 12-inch instruments, 14.5 main infotainment, 11-inch passenger screen. If you go for the mid-trim tech package, this already included. In the very base version, this would be a high-gloss black field without a screen. And I think this is an example for that. Yeah, most American or Northern American, Canadian of course, Australia, and European customers do not use a passenger screen. This was done for the Chinese market. But then again, the Chinese customers say, hey, we buy the Chinese EVs now anyways because they have quicker software. So I think this is something what the German automotive industry developed for the Chinese market. But now basically, like their core target group is not interested in that. And the Chinese group is also not appealed by that. So I think the passenger screen, not really needed. But that's the same thing with other brands, not only Audi specific, of course. What do you think about that? And then you, of course, have the problem that when it's not included, what do you do with this area then? Because you cannot go with, with the air vents through. Here, the dashboard is also like with the stitching here. It's actually a nice surface. That's absolutely fine. This is like this enclosing effect, which is in black when it's all out. And you have a lot of function, of course, integrated, but some stuff you can still do manual, like a stalk for the cruise control. The volume knob is still manual here, for example. And you have two USB-C chargers in the front. Inductive charging pad is also ventilated. Very important that the phone doesn't overheat. The drive modes are selected here. And you can also click them through, so you do not have to finger around in the infotainment system. Just keep clicking that. That's possible. Nicely integrated shifting lever, like here. But then again, a lot of high gloss black area. Nice with the ambient lighting here, and also inside of the cup holders. I love these details, and they are also really well built, these cup holders here. With the high gloss black surfaces, I talked to Audi about that, and they say that they got your feedback, because here we have usually a lot of feedback that you say, hey Thomas, can you tell the manufacturers that it's just too much high gloss black? And they said they got that feedback, but at the point where these cars were developed, the decisions were already done. So this feedback will then be in some of the next vehicles, and yeah, we'll also keep pushing for that, because most say that they don't want too much high gloss black. For the elbow here, I would say it's soft enough. You can also adjust this one here in height, this armrest. This was also something that one of you guys actually asked me, Thomas, can you always test if you can adjust the armrest in height? There we go. Underneath there's more space, but no charging at this interior spaces, just then here in the front, either with the USB-C chargers or with inductive. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is wired or wireless, is both possible. So overall, I mean, you do feel at home here. Middle console not too wide. It is more or less the same like in the Audi A5, also like in the Audi A6 e-tron, in the Audi Q6. They all now have somewhat the same cockpit. Once again, also of course economies of scale and so on. And here the driver POV. I mean, these rings look good. I did prefer the more three-dimensional ones, but they look good. That's the thing. Then here the controls. I said good feedback. You can switch through the views of the digital instruments as well. And hey, wow, this is now the RPM meter again. So they have changed that according to our and your feedback. So we have some RPM information right there. And we also have a head-up display. And now for a perfect transition between the steering wheel and the main infotainment unit. Important feature, press and hold the favorite button. And then you can switch what you want to have, and let me guess which option I will choose here. That's right. Warning sound for speed limit off. That's very important, because it's otherwise, yeah, can be too annoying. This is new EU thing.
Or you drive slower.
I should drive slower? Why? Yeah, Lia is all about German efficiency, of course. And then here you have this main menu. There's like this app view, for example. It's decently quick, I would say. The climate unit is here, and there again we have this problem like in the other new Audi models, that I feel like, what do I have to do with my hand? Yeah, it's supposed to be that you rest your hand there and do like this, but it looks a little, doesn't feel good, you know? So this area is too big then actually, and I don't know. So not the ergonomically best solution, honestly, gotta say that. So I put it off again. Very cool is that you can program, so here you can also program your garage door opener. That's a nice feature. Then you can just click it here, or combine it with geolocation. I recently tried that and showed you a reel of that. And Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is also available with a nice integration right here. So sorry, honey, I dared to take away the feature from you to show the electrochrome roof. But there's one detail I did not show yet, because you can also stop it actually in the middle. There we go. So you have like half open, half closed. I'm not sure exactly why, but I mean, you can do it. Yeah. You can do it. Why not? And when I'm driving faster on the German Autobahn, once again, Lia can hold on tight, because this vehicle still features four handles here from the inside, also here in the rear, also with a coat hanger here. Yeah, that's very important. Now to the rear compartment. First of all, here inside the doors, this is all wrapped here on the top part. Here, once again, more from this Bang & Olufsen sound system. And here, as the manual shade is nice. Also some matte wood here. However, no covering at the inside of the door pockets. Top tether in the lower part, and we also have ISOFIX on the front seat and on the outside here each, and you can also slide these here nicely up and just put them down again when you don't need them. Here there's the armrest with adaptive cup holders. This is solid build quality everywhere, and when you this one is also a ski hatch that you can just open the middle part here. Also a relatively large middle console, and this climate unit we still know from the previous generation. And yes, it is capacitive, but for a capacitive solution, it's actually quite decent. You also have this kind of feedback, clicking feedback, 2 USB-C chargers and more high gloss black area here, definitely. Yeah, and then of course the big thing is about how much space do we have. So first of all, this being the sedan, this is also this panoramic roof, but it ends here. And then with 189 6x2, I can still fit in here some space above, so that's actually fine. Yeah, and about the legroom, you see it fits when I'm sitting in the front seat here. I'm of course tall. This works. However, considering the length of the vehicle, it is not much legroom. It's been the same in the previous generation, also with other competitors definitely, so not the best usage of space. If you now think about the difference to the A5, in the A5 it's even closer. So here the wheelbase difference, we have here 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches more wheelbase, and that's exactly what we see here, because in the this like here in the A6 and in the A5 it was like this. So this is the it's cool, right? You know, when you ask me what's the difference between the A5 and the A6, I say this. Okay, yeah, I think you get the picture, and the overall seating comfort is actually okay. This is actually pretty nicely with the ambient lighting and so on, so design-wise feel pretty much at home. Yeah, but the thing is that like the use of space, this has always been a problem in this segment, and large middle tunnel here, of course, needed for the all-wheel drive system. Yeah, that's you can't get around that really. Now to the trunk or the boot, 450 liters here. If you have the mild hybrid system, as shown here, if you have no mild hybrid system, then they go with 490 liters because underneath you have more space. Here you just have like a little bit for some equipment. Otherwise you would have some more space underneath because the MHEV battery is placed underneath here. And remember that in the US market there will not be any mild hybrid system, so North American market. This is more EU specific, definitely. We have to see how it is with the other markets soon as well. And here the cabin trolley still fits in the sedan trunk, also in the vertical way. And see here between the wheel arches is about 1 meter or 40 inches in width, a little bit more, and the length here is actually quite substantial, like even a little bit more than 1 meters 20 or 47 inches. This here, by the way, is the small battery charger here for that studio, so this will not be in your vehicle. This is just then here for the studio production. The height here is 50 centimeters or 19 inches, so a very well usable trunk. To fold the seats, there's no release there. You have to go around. There we go. Here 1/3 and 2/3. There we go. But you can also just put the middle part down. This one, as I said here, the battery charger. This, yeah, here it's hidden. Then it looks a little bit more. But this, the 12 volt battery that doesn't die as here in the studio when the vehicle is standing here all day with the lights on and all the electric consumers and so on. And here the length to the seats that we will be driving is actually more than 2 meters or 78 inches. Now about the price, and also what reason would you have to get this one here, the all-new A6, in comparison to an all-new A5? So first of all, here for the sedan, entry price, we know the one for Germany at least already, 55,000 euros. That's 3,000 euros less than for the Avant, for the estate version. And it's also, of course, higher in the entry price than an A5. Difference will be like some 10,000 euros, at least in the starting prices. It can differ more, of course, when you put it all full of features. So as it stands here right now, if you think about this is 3-liter V6, air suspension, rear axis steering, Tech Pro package and so on, yeah, then you rather move close to 100,000 euros. I don't know exactly yet, but of course the experience shows that you can maybe almost double the price of this entry price vehicle in here. And what would be the main differences to the A5? So somewhat a problem is that the length difference A5 to A6 is only 16 centimeters or 7 inches. It's not too much, and the wheelbase is just like tiny bit longer than here in the A6. What you get here is optional air suspension, the rear axle steering, soft close at the doors. These are, to me, the three main aspects actually, because everything else you can basically also get with the A5 and then also to a lower price. It is also a question of design. Not necessarily in the front, this is more or less the same, but the rear, both with the Avant and especially here with this sedan, is way different. And of course, a major difference, here you still have the classic sedan trunk, a closed trunk, whereas with the A5 you have this fastback opening. This here is maybe pro if you think about like burglary or something like that. That stuff is safer in the separated trunk. Then again, the A5, of course, with the fastback opening has a better access to the trunk. You have so many tech features that they even improve the noise insulation, and that we really expect a very smooth and soft ride, because A6, A7 and so on have been like really great always in the driving experience and one of the best long-term, like long-haul vehicles. I'm looking forward to drive this one here again to prove or see if it's even become better. Now, of course, the big question is as well, what about the A7? Because you remember there was this confusion with the naming. This was supposed to be called A7 because they want to have the combustion engine on the odd numbers and the electric models on the even numbers. This naming has been cancelled now again because they say, hey, it's an A6 sedan, let's call it A6 sedan. I think it's the right decision. But then the question is, what happens to the A7 with the fastback opener and so on? So far, it is not planned. To me, it was probably one of my favorite Audis overall. If there will be another A7 successor, we will of course keep you updated. But so far, probably we have to live then with either here the A6 sedan or the A6 Avant, which we have recently also shown to you right here. Or of course, the main competitor, the Mercedes E-Class.